The Last Walk of Janusz Korczak, a story of children, courage, and the rights of the smallest voices. On a warm August morning in 1942, a quiet procession moved through the streets of the Warsaw Ghetto. There were no screams, no chaos, only a strange, solemn order. At the front walked an elderly man holding the hand of a child. Behind him followed nearly 200 children dressed in their best clothes, carrying small bundles, books, or toys. And above them, according to some witnesses, fluttered a small green flag. It was the flag of a kingdom that never truly existed, except in the imagination of children. But to Janusz Korczak, it was real. The educator who listened. Janusz Korczak was born Henryk Goldschmidt in Warsaw in 1878 or 1879 into a cultured but fragile family. His father, a lawyer, fell ill when Korczak was young, and the family slipped into poverty. As a teenager, Korczak worked as a tutor to support his mother and himself. From early on, he noticed something many adults ignored. Children were treated as less than human. They were punished, silenced, and controlled. Korczak rejected this completely. After becoming a doctor and working in a children's hospital, he made a life-changing decision to devote himself not only to healing children's bodies, but to defending their dignity. In 1912, he founded the Dom Siero orphanage in Warsaw, where he would build one of the most radical educational experiments of his time. This was not just a shelter, it was a republic. Children voted, they debated, they wrote their own newspaper. And most remarkably, they governed justice through something called the Court of Peers. In this court, children judged the behavior of others, including adults. Even Korczak himself could be brought to trial. This was not symbolic. It was revolutionary. Korczak believed that children had the right not only to be protected, but to be taken seriously as thinkers, as citizens, as human beings. A philosophy that changed the world. Korczak's ideas were not just kind, they were groundbreaking. In his work, How to Love a Child, he argued that children have essential rights: the right to be themselves, the right to live in the present, and the right to grow freely into who they are meant to be. At the time, these ideas were shocking. Today, they echo in international law. Decades later, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child would reflect Korczak's beliefs, first proposed by Poland in 1978 to mark the centenary of his birth. In a sense, the laws of the modern world were shaped by a man who spent his days listening to children. War and the Choice to Stay. When World War II began, Korczak's life and the lives of his children were thrown into chaos. The Nazis forced Jewish families into the Warsaw Ghetto, a place of starvation, disease, and constant fear. Korczak's orphanage was moved inside its walls. He had opportunities to escape. Friends arranged false papers. The underground offered protection. He could have lived. But Korczak refused. He would not abandon the children. He was not alone in this choice. At his side was Stefania Wilczynska, the headmistress of the orphanage and his closest collaborator. She had helped build the orphanage, shared his philosophy, and loved the children just as deeply. She too chose to stay. Together, they became guardians of something fragile but powerful: hope. Resistance without weapons. Life in the ghetto was unbearable. Children starved. Disease spread. Death was everywhere. Yet inside the orphanage, something extraordinary continued. There were lessons. There were plays. There was laughter. Korczak insisted on routine, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. He believed that preserving dignity in a world of cruelty was a form of resistance. He begged for food in the streets. He shielded the children from fear. He maintained the small democracy they had built. Just weeks before the deportation, the children performed The Post Office by Rabindranath Tagore, a play about a sick boy who dreams of escaping to a freer world. Korczak chose it carefully. It was his way of preparing them, not with fear, but with meaning. And in secret, he wrote. His wartime diary reveals a man who was physically failing but mentally sharp. He observed everything: the suffering, the cruelty, even the behavior of the German soldiers. In one haunting line, he wrote, "It is a difficult thing to be born and learn to live. Ahead of me is a much easier task, to die." The green flag. By the summer of 1942, deportations had begun. Trains were leaving daily for Treblinka. Korczak knew what it meant. Still, he prepared the children carefully. He told them they were going on a journey to the countryside, to fresh air and fields of flowers. He asked them to dress in their best clothes. And then came the march. Witnesses describe a quiet, almost unreal scene. Rows of children walking calmly, holding hands. At the front, Korczak, bareheaded, steady, guiding them forward. And above them, the green flag. It came from his book King Mat I, a story about a child king who tries to create a just world for children. The flag symbolized that dream, a world where children mattered. Now that dream walked toward its end. The last choice. Even at the final moment, Korczak was offered freedom. He refused. Again and again. He would not leave them. Because for him, love was not a feeling. It was a responsibility. The last walk. They reached the Umschlagplatz, the place where trains waited. From there, they were taken to Treblinka. None returned. Korczak died alongside his children, Soditstefa Wilczyńska. They had no weapons, no power, no way to change what was coming. But they chose one thing they could control. They stayed. A legacy that lives. It would be easy to remember Korczak only for how he died, but that would miss the point. His legacy is not the march. It is everything before it. It is the orphanage. It is the court. It is the child who is finally heard. It is the dignity given to the small. And today, whenever a child is respected, protected, or believed, his ideas live on. The world he imagined is still being built. Why his story still matters. Korczak's story is not only about loss, it is about choice. On that final day, he could not save the children's lives, but he protected something just as important: their dignity, their trust, their sense of not being alone. And so his story leaves us with a question: what does it truly mean to care for another human being? The answer may be found in that quiet procession: a man, a woman, and their children, walking not away from fear, but through it, together.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Solemn. Definition: serious and quiet, often because something important or sad is happening. Example: the students were silent and solemn during the ceremony. 2. Fluttered. Definition: moved quickly and lightly, like a bird's wings or a flag in the wind. Example: the small flag fluttered in the breeze. 3. Centenary. Definition: the 100th anniversary of an event. Example: the school celebrated its centenary with a big event.
Comprehension questions. 1. Who was Janusz Korczak? Answer: he was a doctor, teacher, and writer who cared deeply about children and their rights. 2. What was Korczak's real name? Answer: his real name was Henryk Goldsamit. 3. What kind of place was Dom Zero? Answer: it was an orphanage where children lived and learned. 4. What made Korczak's orphanage special? Answer: the children helped make rules, had their own court, and were treated with respect. 5. What was the Court of Peers? Answer: it was a court where children judged problems fairly, even involving adults. 6. What did Korczak believe about children? Answer: he believed children are real people who deserve respect and rights. 7. What happened to the orphanage during World War II? Answer: it was moved into the Warsaw Ghetto, where life was very hard. 8. Did Korczak have a chance to escape? Answer: yes, he was offered help to escape, but he refused. 9. Why did Korczak refuse to leave? Answer: he did not want to abandon the children and chose to stay with them. 10. Who was Stefania Wilczynska? Answer: she was Korczak's close partner and helped run the orphanage. 11. What did the children do shortly before they were taken away? Answer: they performed a play called The Post Office. 12. What was the purpose of the play The Post Office? Answer: it helped prepare the children emotionally for what might happen. 13. What was special about the children's march through the ghetto? Answer: they walked calmly in lines, dressed neatly, showing trust in Korczak. 14. What did Korczak protect even though he could not save the children's lives? Answer: he protected their dignity, trust, and sense of not being alone. 15. What is Korczak's legacy today? Answer: his ideas about children's rights still influence laws and how children are treated.